And my son said somebody called him the N-word. And we know what the N-word is. And he said he beat the crap out of
Cyclists don't engage in public, especially when it comes to, because it may lead to argument. You have to scan the environment.
And I generally do that. You know, when somebody comes very brash, very kind of unexplainable aggression, unexplainable bad behavior, the first thing I think about, who dropped them?
Before we started talking about this topic,
yes.
Yewande said, civil unrest, riots, I don't want protests, I don't want this. We have to be very, very that person is going to delay me.
Yes.
You know, you're going to start talking to insurance people, you know, so.
And that's making sure that you have car insurance, my people.
Yewande.
Babashola, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Wherever you are all over the world.
All right.
Our topic for today is
is
hot and current.
Yes. You know how we are transparent.
Yes. You know, we try to be very transparent with you, only with you people. So just in case you are not aware, there is some some undercurrents that Babashola will tell us about what's happening.
There's so much happening
all over the world
right now. Some people call it civil unrest, which is your preferred phrase.
Yeah, civil unrest. Yes.
Some people call it riot. Some people call it protest.
Yes.
But we're still talking about the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I believe that it has an impact on relationships because this is a relationship
yes,
podcast.
Definitely.
So how does it impact relationships? We would like to hear your thoughts on it as well. We are not political.
No, this is not a political issue, but it's a relationship issue.
It is a relationship issue.
It's unfortunate, but protests, civil unrest, riots affects relationships.
Yeah.
Yes.
I give you an example. Yesterday, you know, there was...
And just to give a bit of context, we currently have in the United Kingdom where we're based, some civil unrests, protests, looting, rioting going on at this time. If you want to know more about that, just go and check the news. So we're just looking at the impact of that. And obviously, we're originally from Nigeria as well. There's some civil unrest going on there.
In Asia?
In Asia. They're just different parts of the world. And let's just say the continents of the world. Yeah. And then when you check on certain social media, you'll hear of, different, figures that people look up to. I don't want to name any because different ones have been talking their own perspective on it, and it's been causing, other people to feel like they shouldn't be saying certain things. So we just want to play it out, what does these kind of climates that we're in, how does it impact on our relationships? And how can we keep our relationships good, I always talk about, healthy, because I always talk about, we have to get along whichever way we look at it. And it looks like it's us against the world right now. Personal relationships.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
And you see, my thoughts are, it's unrest in the society, in communities, across the world. But there can be unrest within the family as well.
Of course.
Within the family. And that unrest could stem from just a word, a misplaced word, or a missaid word, or a miscommunication, or
Yeah, you were going to talk about a situation yesterday before I put the context.
So, I left work and got a phone call from my sister. Couldn't really pick it up because I was in a meeting, and eventually called her, and I couldn't get through to her. Got through to my wife, and my wife then, was telling me she had to leave because her colleagues had to leave work early. But the most important thing was that my sister called, and she was in a state of panic because in the area where my wife works, there were, set to be protests. So I, not anxious, but I had to, be calm and to ensure that, she arrives home safely. My son as well walks around that area. So there were several, messages, phone calls, and, my daughter works in London as well. My other daughter, who's just had a baby. She's at home at the moment. So, but we were...
Yes. Is that kind of anxiety and fear that it has created.
That is it.
And that's real. We've talked about whether people are feeling safe, leaving early. I mean, sometimes, rightly, like you've said, it's affected me at work as well. There's been some programs actually that we've planned that we've had to cancel so that we're not coming across as provocative in any way towards, because these are big crowd events that we have organized. So the thing that we would like to hear from you is, what's been your experience of anything like this? Has it affected the way that you've related to your colleagues? I'm looking at it even from the point of view of our Caucasian cousins, our Asian cousins, people from different nationalities to ourselves. How has it affected how we relate to them?
Yeah. And they would have their opinions as well. Those that see it all in an objective way, it would be interesting to find out how they feel. Because whether we like it or not, it's a small world.
Oh, yes. And people are... The protest to civil unrest is directed at government to do something in all the contexts. Yeah. But the people who are suffering the everyday reality are the citizens. Yes. And I personally, this is my own personal opinion, that sometimes different groups of people are inciting other people to cause hatred and unrest, quite honestly. Because you see, when
for their selfish interests.
For their own selfish interests. But quite honestly, when you cut us all open, the same red blood comes out of all of us. And we are all different for a reason. Imagine if we were all the same. Where would we go for our holidays, Babashola? Sorry, guys. You know me already. Imagine, we're all the same. Where would we go for our holiday?
It would be such a boring world.
It would be a boring world. But we also have to learn how to live together, to agree to disagree on some issues. Definitely in the United Kingdom, there's a feeling of, we've had a situation where we've had the same government in power for about 14 years, which is the Conservative government. And then we had a change of government just recently. This new Labour government haven't even been in power for more than 4 weeks. And then there's all this unrest. I wouldn't like to say that, it's their fault, but they've inherited a discontented, situation. Yes. And it's playing out during their tenureship, for want of a better word. Yeah. But their response as well, I personally feel like there needs to be dialogue, because that's what we talk about when we talk about one-to-one relationships. We say, if you are not happy with your spouse, partner or husband or wife, you have to create time to talk. Definitely. And pick a good moment to talk.
It's the only way to resolve issues.
So where's the talking now? Where's all the protest?
Let's stop talking at the moment. The prisons are full, so
overflowing.
They're overflowing. How many people do you want to arrest? You understand? And I urge. I went to a local shop yesterday, and I had to, that was just me. Tell the person that just take care of yourself. Just
yes. I've had calls. Even our day job is running a charitable organization in a predominantly white area, and some of our funders have emailed and said, we're concerned about what's going on right now. And, we have a very mixed and diverse team in my workplace. against the background of a predominantly white area. So we're trying not to provoke each other. So are there any tips that, we can give from our own personal experience, how to navigate this season without being too fearful, without, feeling like you can't go anywhere or do your normal things? Obviously, we've even seen videos of people actually going for it and telling people about themselves, bringing historical factors in why we've come to this situation. But there hasn't been dialogue, like how when they do those political campaigns before they get elected. I think that's what we need. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the issues are. So what would be your tip for the average individuals who are having maybe feelings of anxiety, feeling like, if you're a person of color right now in the United Kingdom, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're visibly not Caucasian, that's what I'm talking about. just to put it in context, visibly not Caucasian, you're going to feel somehow.
You will definitely feel somehow. I think it's very tricky, personally. I think it's very tricky. I think in order to engage our Caucasian cousins, it has to be one-on-one. It can't be in a group setting, because the effect of a mob is very, very powerful, especially when you can't get through the leader. The leader of this so-called unrest is in hiding. So how will I? What would be my tip? My tip to my family members, for instance, is stay alert. You have to be extremely alert. Don't engage. There's a friend of mine who was traveling in the train, and there was this hefty, Caucasian male that was just walking past and rubbing against him and whatever. And he had to keep his cool.
Yes, and this is what we were saying about not be seen to be provocative.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we've had to cancel. We were meant to be actually having a stand in a community picnic today. And we have a mixed staff and volunteer team in the place of my workplace. And we've had to think about it, that would our presence be provoking people in the wrong way, even though it's quite a peaceful community.
And now it's a sensible approach.
Yeah, because people are now, certain groups of people are feeling empowered because there's a certain level of disenfranchisement over the years with a group of people in the United Kingdom. Again, we're in one of the areas that have quite, what they say, that 10 to 20% of people, the most deprived in England. There are pockets of areas in the area that we're in right now, where we're actually filming from and where you're listening from, that has pockets of people. And unfortunately, they are mostly Caucasian cousins that are in that situation, because people who have come into this area have come to improve themselves, improve the area, and there's a disaffected group of people. Some of them, there's 4 generations of families that have never worked. Wow. Now, you might be thinking, is that possible in England?
And is that real?
Yes, it's possible and it's real. We have people who are unable to read and write, some of our Caucasian cousins. Now, I'm not saying that's not in other parts of the world, different people can't read or write in different parts of the world, but it's particularly acute in pockets of England. And it is what it is. And I believe dialogue needs to be had. People need to talk about how they support the weakest in the community. Because let's be honest, even in Nigeria, that is what the protest is about. There was a placard I saw. I don't know whether I shared it with you. The lady put a placard. She said, "Bad governance in Nigeria has made me unable to marry. Age 37.
Oh my God.
I was thinking, how come?
That's a
I
silly
said,
excuse. That's a silly excuse, though.
Well, maybe the family couldn't pay the bride price that they were asking for.
That's a silly excuse. It's like, I'm a Christ follower. Everybody that say they're Christians, something bad happens to them, they start blaming the devil.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So, Babashola, I'm still waiting for the tips.
Tips, Yewande, is be careful.
And so what does be careful look like?
What be careful looks like is don't engage in public, especially when it comes to, because it may lead to argument. You have to scan the environment before you offer or prefer solutions or even offer your views. You have to scan. It's a time to be
emotional intelligence.
Apply your emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is emotional intelligence is all about knowing when to speak.
Yes.
Who to speak to. And how you say it. Words are very, very
powerful.
I remember I've shared this with them before we started talking about this topic.
Yes.
When they said, civil unrest, riots, I don't want protests, I don't want this. We have to be very, very... And I understand where she's coming from.
We had to also think about how we were going to present it so that we don't come across like we're trying to promote
we are agitators,
riots.
we are activists. We are not.
We're just being real in terms of the impact on relationships. And like Babashola is saying, we'll be interested in your own personal experiences and how you've handled it, because we all need help. I mean, I remember when my son was younger, and I don't know if they were going to schools that were predominantly white schools, because they were in the minority. And my son said somebody called him the N-word. And we know what the N-word is. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what the N-word is,
just go to Mr. Mrs. Google.
Yeah, and just say, what is the N-word? And he said he beat the crap out of I said, But obviously at that age, he's not mature enough to know that, there are other ways. He said, Mom, by the time I finished dealing with that person, he never crossed me again. So don't beat anybody up, because provocation is about what you shared. Somebody on the train, brushing you up, sizing you up. This is not the time, my peoples.
It isn't.
To react, because we have to always think about what is behind that way
anger.
Of being. Yes, that anger. And I generally do that. When somebody comes very brash, very kind of unexplainable aggression, unexplainable bad behavior, the first thing I think about, who dropped them? Which side of the bed did they get out of?
It's true, and it's a fantastic way of viewing it, because you always have to shift that perspective. Because what I do is I'm extremely careful not to let anybody steal my joy. I'm in a car, I'm driving, and someone is driving carelessly. Mm-hmm. My chances of meeting that person tomorrow is 1 in a million or a billion.
True.
So why on earth would I fall for that person is going to delay me?
Yes.
You're going to start talking to insurance people. So.
And that's making sure that you have car insurance, my people. To cover you in any eventuality.
Yes.
Because I know some people, they don't believe in insurance. Yes. Oh. Jesus is the insurance.
And people be very sensible about that one. Yes.
Yes.
We're in this world.
Yes. So you make a very valid point. This now cuts across any situation you find yourself in where you feel like the other person is treating you unfairly, they're brushing you up without provocation, they've come at you without provocation. What are you going to do about it? Think about it. What are you going to do? Really are you going to do immediately what you feel you want to do, defend yourself? Because that's what people say. I was just defending myself. I can't allow somebody to come into my face. You could end up where you're not expecting to. I say walk away.
And
that's what I say, especially when you have this kind of climate. It's better to flee from all appearances of evil. Flee. And it's not being coward.
And it doesn't make you weak.
Yes, it doesn't make you weak.
Because you for me personally, before I speak, it takes me seconds to scan what I want to say. Before I react, I have to scan it. Because if you are instinctive, if you react provoked, and you find yourself in front of the police, you give your version, the other Caucasian person gives their version, and you're in front of the Caucasian anything can happen.
Of course.
Don't put yourself in that position.
Don't. And the other thing that our viewers need to know is that this protest has a leader that's well known.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want us to mention any names because that's not what this podcast is about. And so people identify this particular leader with a particular kind of far left politics.
Far right.
Oh, far right, sorry. Far right politics. So we're not a political broadcast. We're not broadcasting, but you already see where the motivation is coming from.
Yeah.
So if you understand far right politics generally, you understand so you already know what is motivating that.
You know the agenda.
You know the agenda. Thank you, Babashola. So you think about your sense of response. It could be at work. You might be the minority person of color in your workplace. You might be. And so you have to be mindful of how you speak with your colleagues in that situation. So you don't end up where you don't expect to end up. If you are having a situation where your employer can facilitate a discussion about it, that would be really lovely, because people should be able to. But that is only if your employer facilitates such a discussion, because these are learning opportunities as well, so that we can all live harmoniously with each other. We need to understand some of why people are feeling this way.
Definitely. And could I take this opportunity as well? Especially, those that are active on social media. This is a time to apply wisdom as well. To apply wisdom, because anything you do on social media now is being carefully scrutinized, watched.
Yes, that's true.
Not only by government, but by your bosses, by HR.
Yes.
HR scan through, in order to vet you, they scan through your social media profile.
Yes.
They want to know your political affiliation. They want to know everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have strong views, we have views.
Yes.
And no one can accuse us of being on one side now. Apply wisdom on how you articulate those views.
Yes, so that you don't end up losing your family, because we're talking about relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you lose your job, it's going to impact on your relationship with your family, especially your partner, your children, if you have any. Definitely. So let's think before we speak. Think about it. Definitely. Do your research. Let's do our research as well, because there's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately.
A lot.
And there's some people, like we said when we started this conversation, who are capitalizing on the climate for their own personal gain.
Some people are profiting right now.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
And we can't live in a world of continuous misunderstanding. There has to be safe spaces that we can have healthy discussion. Right now on social media, I haven't seen that. But it could be that it's happening. It's just not being viewed.
It hasn't gone viral.
It hasn't gone viral. Yeah. Bad news always goes more viral. Yeah. So let's be the agents of good relationship management.
Yes.
Let's be agents of good. And let's apply, like Babashola said, wisdom. Let's apply emotional intelligence. Yeah. Let's apply common sense, and I know common sense is not always common. So please, excuse the expression, but let's think, how is it impacting on me? And most importantly, take care of yourself first. Don't put yourself in vulnerable positions to make a point. You are not the one who started the protest, the civil unrest, or the riots, whatever they're calling it. However, if you are in favor, like in some parts of the world, you might be in favor of that protest and you want to go and protest. Make sure you do it within the rules of protesting.
Exactly.
Or, in whatever country you're in. Because most countries have guidelines about how you go about protesting. So you don't want to be the one that is seen to be looting or seen to be provoking anything that will cause unnecessary damage to property, to life.
Taking advantage of the
Exactly, and to livelihood. Because if you damage your community to the point that it cannot be fixed, then you don't have what you are trying to protest that you want. And this is what we are advocating, that there should be conversation, dialogue. So, my dear governments of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, I beg you, please organize some debates, please, rather than sending everybody to prison.
This is not going to resolve that.
This is on the United Kingdom front. Nigeria, please, let us have conversation from government, because that's what everyone focuses their attention on. But more importantly, take care of yourself.
I think that is the...
Because I know that no government can fix personal relationships.
Definitely not.
They can fix something in the... Yes.
Oh yeah, it's dependent on us.
Yes.
I think that's been well navigated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better than I actually thought.
Was it?
It was. So let's have your thoughts, your comments. What experiences have you had? What advice or suggestions would you give for people who might find themselves in situations where they have different groups of people that they're working with or they're relating to, or even your partner? Some of you have... your partner is Caucasian, you are African or Asian.
Yes.
Is it causing any friction in your household? Because these are real issues. Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Excellent. Well said. Said. Don't forget to share. Like.
And subscribe.
And subscribe as well. That'll be very helpful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yewande.